In today's commission meeting, January 12th, 2023, we are going to begin this meeting with a prayer. Pastor, thank you for joining us.
If you can, please stand. I'm going to ask that all men please remove their hats at this time. Heads bowed, eyes closed. Shall we pray? Most holy and heavenly Father, we thank you once again for allowing us to see another day. Father, we ask that you bless right now, Father. Touch right now, Father. Father, bless this commission meeting. Bless the officers who've been elected. Bless all the participants, the first responders, and everyone here, Father. Bless those who are here, Father, to present their agendas. Let it be a peaceful meeting, Father. Even though there are differences in our communities, Father, let it be one of unity. As the Boulevard says, let us unify our minds and our hearts. Let this be a meeting that we may not agree on everything, but let it be peaceful. Let it be one that we can bless each other and be a blessing to the community. Lift us up and help us become as one. As it says, this is the United States of America. We are united in one place. Father, we ask that you bless us right now, touch and help us become stronger. These and other blessings we ask in the mighty name of our Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, and all hearts and minds. And those that love the Lord, please say, amen. You may be seated.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you so much. And at this time, Commissioner Reyes, would you please give us the Pledge of Allegiance? Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, Madam City Attorney, do you have a statement to read into the record?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Detailed information about the process, order of business, rules of procedure, and scheduling or rescheduling of City Commission meetings can be found in Chapter 2, Article 2 of the City Code, a copy of which is available online at www.municode.com. Any person who is a lobbyist pursuant to Chapter 2, Article 6 of the City Code must register with the City Clerk and comply with the related city requirements for lobbyists before appearing before the City Commission. A person may not lobby a city official, board member, or staff member until registering. A copy of the code section about lobbyists is available in the City Clerk's office or online at www.municode.com. Any person making a presentation, formal request, or petition to the City Commission concerning real property must make the appropriate disclosures required by the City Code in writing. A copy of this code section is available in the office of the City Clerk or online at www.municode.com. The City of Miami requires that anyone requesting action by the City Commission must disclose before the hearing any consideration provided or committed to anyone for agreement to support or withhold objection to the requested action pursuant to City Code Section 2-8. Any documents offered to the City Commission that have not been provided 7 days before the meeting as part of the agenda materials will be entered into the record at the City Commission's discretion. In accordance with Section 2-33F and G of the City Code, the agenda and the material for each item on the agenda is available during business hours in the City Clerk's office or online 24 hours a day at www.miamigov.com. Any person may be heard by the City Commission through the chair for not more than 2 minutes on any proposition before the City Commission unless modified by the chair. Public comment will begin at approximately 10 a.m. and remain open until public comment is closed by the chair. Members of the public wishing to address the body may do so in writing by written comments via the online comment form. Please visit www.miamigov.com/meeting instructions for detailed instructions on how to provide public comment using the online public comment form. The comments submitted through the comment form will be distributed, have been and will be distributed to elected officials and city administration throughout the day so the elected officials may consider the comments prior to taking any action. Additionally, the online comment form will remain open during the meeting to accept comments and distribute to elected officials up until the chair closes public comment. Public comment may also be provided live at City Hall, located at 3500 Pan American Drive, subject to any and all city rules as may be amended. If the proposition is being continued or rescheduled, the opportunity to be heard may be at such later date before the City Commission takes action on such proposition. When addressing the City Commission, the member of the public must first state their name, their address, and what item will be spoken about. Any person with a disability requiring assistance, auxiliary aids, or services for this meeting may notify the city clerk. The city has provided different public comment methods to indicate, among other things, the public support, opposition, or neutrality on an item pursuant to Florida Statute Section 286.0114-4C Florida Statutes. The public has been given the opportunity to provide public comment during the meeting and within reasonable proximity and time before the meeting. Please note, commissioners have generally been briefed by city staff and the city attorney on items on the agenda today. Anyone wishing a verbatim record of the item considered at this meeting may request it at the Office of Communications or view it online at www.miamigov.com. PZ items shall proceed according to Section 7.1.4 of the Miami 21 zoning ordinance as temporarily modified pursuant to emergency ordinance numbers 13609 and 13914. Parties for any PZ items, including applicant, appellant, appellee, city staff, and any person recognized by the decision-making body as a qualified intervener, as well as the applicant's representatives and any experts testifying on behalf of the applicant, appellant, or appellee, may either be physically present at City Hall to be sworn in by oath or affirmation by the city clerk, or may appear virtually and make arrangements to be sworn in by oath or affirmation in person at their location by an individual qualified to perform such duty. Pursuant to Emergency Ordinance 13903, members of the general public who are not parties to the action pending before the City Commission are not required to be sworn in by oath or affirmation. The members of the City Commission shall disclose any ex parte communications pursuant to Florida Statute 286.0115 and Section 7.1.4.5 of the Miami 21 zoning ordinance. The order of presentation shall be as set forth in Miami 21 and the City Code. Staff will present each item. The applicant will present its application or request to the commission. If the applicant agrees with the staff recommendation, the City Commission may proceed to deliberation and decision. The applicant may also waive the right to an evidentiary hearing on the record. For appeals, the appellant will present its appeal to the City Commission, followed by the appellee. Staff will be allowed to make any recommendation they may have. Please silence all cell phones and other noise-making devices now. This meeting can be viewed live on Miami TV, miamigov.com, the city's Facebook page, the city's Twitter page, the city's YouTube channel, and Comcast Channel 77. The broadcast will also have closed captioning. Thank you.
Mr. City Clerk?
Thank you, Chair. The procedures for individuals who provide testimony to be sworn in for planning and zoning items and any quasi-judicial items on today's City Commission agenda will be as follows. The members of City staff or any other individuals required to be sworn in who are currently present at City Hall will be sworn in by me, the City Clerk, immediately after I finish explaining these procedures. Those individuals who are appearing remotely may be sworn in now or at any time prior to the individual providing testimony for planning, zoning items and/or quasi-judicial items pursuant to emergency ordinance number 13903. Those individuals appearing remotely may be sworn at their location by an individual qualified to administer the oath. After you are sworn in, please be sure to complete, sign, and notarize the affidavit provided to you by the City Attorney's Office. Each individual who will provide testimony must be sworn in and execute an affidavit. Please email a scanned version of the signed affidavit to the City Clerk at thannon@miamigov.com prior to providing testimony on the planning and zoning item and/or quasi-judicial item. The affidavit shall be included in the record for the relevant item for which you will be providing testimony. Commissioners, are you comfortable with all the notice provisions set forth in the uniform rules and procedures we have established for this meeting? And then, Chair, may I administer the oath? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. If we be speaking on any of today's planning and zoning items, our PZ items, planning and zoning items, may I please have you stand and raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at today's meeting is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And your response is? Thank you, Chair.
At this time, we're going to take up the presentations and proclamations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Evans. I'm the Interim Parks Director here for the City of Miami. If I can get our Natural Areas team and our team from the Frost Science Museum to come up, please. It's my pleasure to be able to recognize all their hard work that they've been doing. During our Florida Recreation and Parks Association conference, both our Natural Areas team and our Philip and Patricia Frost Museum of Science were recognized for all their volunteer work that they do to make the city shine. So while we're here, you can grab this one for me. There you go. So I wanted to make sure we brought everyone here to recognize all the work that they continue to do. First, I wanted to thank our Science Museum. If you could come here to the front, please. We wanted to recognize the work you've done directly at the Virginia Key Beach Park, North Point Park area with our conservation efforts. So really quickly, we would like to thank you for your commitment, dedication, volunteer efforts to enhance the areas of coastal habitat on Virginia Key North Point, engaging thousands of volunteers and community members. With your assistance, the City of Miami Parks and Recreation Department has increased its accessibility to education, recreation, ecological outreach, and is therefore fitting and appropriate for the elected leadership of the City of Miami to honor and commend the Philip and Patricia Frost Museum of Science. So I wanted to thank you for your efforts. And also, while we're here, I wanted to thank our Natural Areas team, Myra, Kim, Frico, Etienne, and Gloria for all your work that you continue to do at Simpson Park, at Alice Wainwright Park, and as well at Virginia Key. So we wanted to thank you for your time and your dedication. Your work does not go unnoticed, and we're thankful that you're a part of our team. So thank you. Thank you. Oh, get a picture, please. Take a picture. All right, we're good. Oh, we're good. Thank you. All right. There we go. Oh, there we go. There she is. There we go. Sorry.
what we're doing next.
Thank you. Where's the frame? Good morning. Good morning.
How's your ring doing?
Huh?
How's your ring doing?
Oh my God, you got one? Random.
Tienen el nombre. Yeah.
Este es el jersey allá adentro. Thank you very much. Sí, sir. Thank you. Yeah, he's in charge of the bike team. All right.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Officer Ivan Miranda, and I'm a member of the City of Miami Police Department Bicycle Response Team, and also I'm a member of the Miami PD Cycling Team. Today, I am honored to present our elected officials, Mayor Francis Suarez, Commissioners Alex de la Portilla, Joe Carollo, Manolo Reyes, Christine King, and City Manager Arthur Noriega. With our Miami PD Cycling Team jerseys, the Miami PD Cycling Team, it was created to promote wellness and fitness amongst the officers of the City of Miami Police Department while we're in an off-duty capacity. I want to present these jerseys to our elected officials as a token of appreciation for all of your support towards the Miami Police Bicycle Response Team. Thank you.
Let me just say a couple things real quick. Sometimes I think, from an appreciation perspective, we don't really understand the incredible amount of work that this group does, right? In terms of obviously fitness, taking care of yourself, the training it takes to do what you guys do. So although the thanks are appreciated, really the thanks from us in terms of administration, and I'll let the elected officials speak for themselves, and certainly the chief and his senior staff. We really appreciate the dedication and hard work this group puts in. As has been sort of proven out multiple times since I've been city manager, this group has sort of stepped up, risen to the occasion on a number of instances and circumstances. You put yourselves really in the line of fire, so to speak, right, and in harm's way. And your training and dedication speaks to the results. So thank you very much for your dedication and hard work.
I cannot add anything to what city manager have said. The only thing that I want to add is thank you. Thank you for your job, for the work that you do, and keep up the good work.
On behalf of all the residents, thank you very much for the work you do.
I can actually attest to the work that you do, but because I see you when I'm running in the morning, I see you out patrolling on your bike, and I often think, yep, I'm going to ride along with you on my bike. I love biking, and it's a wonderful thing to have you out in the community biking because you're able to communicate with the community, and you're not so away from them like when you're in a patrol car. And I know they appreciate that, and I do as well. So thank you for your service, always.
So for those of you that are kind of unaware how this came about, during the 2020 demonstrations, the bicycle response team was pivotal, that the city of Miami didn't face the many challenges that other cities across the nation did. They were incredibly professional when they handled all the demonstrations and all the protests that we had in the city of Miami. And for that, they have our heartfelt gratitude. So when they approached us and they approached our FOP, the union, that they wanted to have a token of gratitude given to the elected, it was because every time they were out there working 12-hour shifts, the elected officials made it a point to stop and thank them for their hard work, dedication, and professionalism. So that's why we're here today. So thank you for not only doing the great job that you do, but thank you for the elected officials for supporting our team at all times. Thank you very much.
Mr. City Clerk, do we need to approve the minutes?
No, ma'am, we can move to the order of the day.
Okay, all right. At this time, I understand that we have a personal appearance from Mr. Patrick Range. Good morning, Mr. Range.
Good morning.
It doesn't matter. Mr. Range, you have 3 minutes. Okay. You have 3 minutes for your personal appearance. Please proceed.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. I will do my best to give my presentation within 3 minutes. I thought this was a discussion item, but it was scheduled to be a discussion item as opposed to a personal appearance. I asked the manager to be sure that that was clear. This was to be a discussion item as opposed to a personal appearance for me. This was not about me.
That's not how I interpreted what you requested, but a personal appearance is you showing up personally to make a presentation or you know, specifically as it relates to the Virginia Key Trust, but.
Okay. Again, good morning to members of the Commission here. My name is Patrick Range with offices at 5727 Northwest 17th Avenue in the city of Miami. And I am disappointed that I will only have 3 minutes to make my presentation. I don't feel that that's fair for the time and effort that has been put into what we have done as former trust members. I would like those who are here in attendance on behalf of Virginia Key, the former membership, to please stand. I'd also like my leadership team to come forward with me as well. Shame on you, City Commission. And, you know, it's really a shame that, you know, we don't have a quorum present on the dais. Shame on you, City Commission. You've dropped the ball, you've missed the mark, you've insulted and disrespected this community. We've received nothing but disrespect at every turn from you, despite our efforts as volunteers in this city to make this city better by representing this park, being stewards over this land, and to provide a passive park experience for the citizens that live in this great city. We deserve better. Because you have disrespected us at every turn, we will not let this go. It's providential that we are approaching the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday this Monday. He once said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." This is injustice. We've been accused wrongfully of many things that we have had to painstakingly prove were not true. We've not received any apology. We've not received not even a thank you for the time and years that the volunteers have put forward to make this park somewhere, to reopen this park and make it somewhere that anyone, anywhere in the world would be happy to go to. So we're not going to let it go. The time is always right to do what is right. That's also a quote from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And you have the chance to do right. And we believe you can do right.
At this time, we're going to move on to the order of the day. Mr. Manager?
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman, Madam City Attorney, Mr. City Clerk, Commissioners. At this time, the administration would like to defer and/or withdraw the following items. PH 5 to be withdrawn. PH 6 to be deferred to the January 26th meeting. RE 3 to be withdrawn. RE 5 to be deferred to the March 23rd meeting. RE 7 to be deferred to the February 9th meeting. SR 2 to be deferred to the January 26th meeting. FR 4 to be withdrawn. FR 6 to be deferred to the March 23rd meeting. DI 1 to be deferred to the March 23rd meeting. And DI 2 to be withdrawn. As for the PZ agenda, PZ 4 to be withdrawn. PZ 15.
Are PZ 4 to be withdrawn?
Yes.
The Opportunity Zone parking exemption? Are you sure you have the right one?
Sorry, it was inadvertently on my list. It's fine.
I think so. Okay.
So PZ 4 is still in
Still
place?
on the agenda.
Yes.
Correct. PZ 15 to be deferred to January 26th. PZ 16 to be deferred to January 26th. PZ 17 to be deferred to January 26th, PZ 18 to be indefinitely deferred, and PZ 19 to be indefinitely deferred.
Chair, if I may briefly, there's just a
This,
quick
Mr.
statement
City
that I need to-
Manager, I have a question. What are you deferring PC 15 and 16? 17? I would like to hear them. This is,
Actually, I think the intent was to allow for a new commissioner.
but we
Be seated.
promised, Russell, that we would hear it.
We would pass Little Bahamas.
That was part of our commitment.
I mean, we can keep those on the agenda. I don't have an issue
I
with
mean,
it.
if it is voted down, whatever it is, but it was,
you'd like to keep-
I personally said, the ones that I agree with, you see, I will support it, and I will hear it, and everybody agree with it.
So 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, you rather they remain on the agenda?
Yes, I mean, let
Right,
us.
so
let us-
18 and 19 have
yeah.
notice issues.
They
They're
have
all
notice issues.
together, so that's why I think they were
Well-
being withdrawn, or,
The Little Bahamas and Coconut Grove
Right. 15 and 16 should remain.
should remain.
And
Because we
17.
did- And it's
And
17
17 will remain on the
and-
agenda.
And I am a co-sponsor for 15 and 16. I'm not as sure for 17.
right, 18 and 19 are the ones that need to be removed because of notice.
Yeah.
But they're all,
Wait, now
little,
I'm confused.
they're all related, so I
Yeah.
think that was part of it.
Okay. I know. I'm watching. I'm watching from my office. These are items that were, I think it's a wholesale rezoning of, I think, is it 20 folios or something of that nature? No. Yes, but well, I have the floor. It's a wholesale rezoning of 20 different properties, correct? Is that correct, Mr. Manager?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is something that I think requires more study. It's a serious area, an important area in our city. And I think the deferral is important for me to make sure that I have an opportunity to understand how we're dramatically changing an entire neighborhood. And I know something that was presented by the former Commissioner Russell, have been working on it for a while. We have no representation for District 2. So we are the ones that have to make those decisions until we have representation in District 2. So to me, it's something that requires a little bit more study. It is not rezoning one property or rezoning another property. It's a wholesale change. I had a similar issue at the Omni CRA when I got to the Omni CRA the first time. And they wanted to do, which also Commissioner Russell by happenstance, I guess, wanted to rezone 33 different folios. And all of a sudden, you create all these high rises, all these properties at the Omni CRA area, and you don't respect historical preservation, you don't respect the character of the neighborhood, you don't respect things that matter. These things require thought. We just can't redevelop without taking into account the details of how we're going to get there. I understand that people that may own property there may want to increase the value of their property, but as commissioners, we have to find that balance. So to me, I think what's prudent is to defer it, give me and other commissioners an opportunity to have a voice in what happens and to understand it, and even more important is to allow the commissioner from District 2 who represents this area to the new commissioner, whoever that commissioner he or she may be, to come in and say, hey, this is what I think should happen here. So, Madam Chair, what I would request that we defer all these items until I have an opportunity to study them. All the commissioners have an opportunity to study, and we have a new commissioner from District 2 that can actually have his say in what happens in the neighborhood that he or she will represent.
I would like to hold that until we have Commissioner Carollo
That's right.
back on the dais, and if that is the will of the body,
Okay?
that is what we will
Okay,
follow.
and I wish that Commissioner Carollo be here because I also have a request for deferral. for other two items, that in those two items, I requested a study of lighting study and how will the neighbors be affected by LEDs, billboards that should be going to be placed in different areas. I had not received anything in that issue, and following the same line of thought that you have, we don't have a commissioner that represents that area, and what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I think that they should be deferred also, and that is SR 1 and FR 7. I requested a study, and I requested study a couple of times because my main concern is how the residents, and we have to now all take into account the residents because Biscayne Boulevard and Brickell and all those areas, they are little towns. And if we are going to allow, that in all city properties, we have on all Miami Parking Authority properties, if we're going to allow them to have billboards that they are illuminated, they are LEDs, we have to know what the effect will be on them. Therefore, I would like to ask for those two items to be deferred.
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes.
thank you. Those two items, one is mine, one is Commissioner Carollo's that we're presenting today. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. We can make an argument about outdoor dining too if we want to. And we can go back and forth as long as we want about all those issues. But the bottom line is an issue, this is on second reading. It's been discussed thoroughly. It was discussed when the other commissioner was already here, so he had his say, and actually I think he was in agreement with it back then. So he had already expressed his support for these two issues. So these items, I do not think they should be deferred. Number one, because I think they're probably going to pass, and it's a good idea. It's been debated. It's already on second reading. That's why we have first reading and second reading. And number two, because one of the sponsors is not here to be able to debate it. So I also would request that not be deferred. And of course, I can make an argument that the outdoor dining issue be deferred because I think that it carves out a portion of my district. We go back and forth all morning on this. We can wait have a full day if you want, and we'll have a vote on it and let the will of the body decide.
We have already achieved or arrived at a solution for outdoor dining, which will exclude areas that, from 95 east and the other.
I went through it this morning. I still don't agree with the carve-out.
Well,
so
then vote against it.
I will. Well, we're all going to vote for or against. That's obviously what's going to happen today. That's why we're here. We're here to vote.
Okay.
Whether whoever likes the result doesn't like the result doesn't really matter to me. But matters what the result is.
That is my
But I'm not going to move. I'm not going to move to defer your item because it's not appropriate that I move to defer your item because it wouldn't be collegial to move to defer your item. So please don't move to defer mine. Or Commissioner Carlos is not here.
I am not.
I would appreciate that.
And I'm not deferring them because of.
No, you just moved to defer my item.
I am not.
Okay.
You listen. Don't move to the.
Okay.
The order is very simple. I have the floor.
Okay.
I have the floor. When I finish, then you can recognize him.
It's not productive for the two of you to go back and
But
forth.
no, it's not back and forth. That's
and
why.
I think you said, let's wait until Commissioner Carollo
I did. So
comes.
that's no more
Okay.
debate.
So let's wait till Commissioner Carollo comes. I believe we have some, do you have any items that you would like to, other than what you were saying, that are your items?
Madam Chair, I am doing this not because of a personal vendetta, or I don't act like that. I do my decisions and my comments are based on how much the residents are going to be protected and how much they're going to be affected. My question about lightning, it is because I had asked for an analysis, a study on the effect of lightning of that type in the neighborhoods. And I'm here to protect the neighbors. I know that could bring
revenues and all of that, but I'll put the neighbors before revenues and before money. It is not because it is a personal thing or anything like that. It is because I have not received what I have asked for. And I don't blame you, Commissioner. I blame the administration for not doing what I ask. So don't take it personal, okay? I don't.
Commissioner, do you have anything else that is your item that you might want to have deferred?
No, madam.
Okay. Where's the city manager?
He's over there. City manager.
Chair, while you're waiting, maybe I can take care of two things. Number one, for the indefinite deferral of PZ 18 and 19, I just need to read a quick statement. Pursuant to Section 62-22 of the City Code, an indefinitely deferred action initiated by the city will cost the city mail noticing, advertising, and posting of properties as applicable. And the other thing, Chair, if it's the will of the commission, may I read the co-sponsor request that I have into the record?
Yes, please.
For PH 11, I have Commissioner King as a co-sponsor. For PH 12, I have Commissioner King, Commissioner Reyes, and Commissioner Diaz-Liberty as a co-sponsor. For RE 2, I have Commissioner Reyes. For SR 3, I have Commissioner King. For PZ 2, I have Mayor Suarez. For PZ 8, I have Commissioner King and Mayor Suarez. And for PZ 15 and 16, I have Commissioner King. Thank you, Chair. And additionally, Commissioner Reyes would like to co-sponsor PZ 15 and 16 with Commissioner King.
Yes.
Okay. And at this time, what? Go ahead.
The order of the day, Madam Chairwoman, has to be determined by a full dais because these are controversial issues. If you're going to do the order of the day, Madam Attorney, Madam Chairwoman, do we have the right to bring them back even if they're deferred now?
Yes? Yes. Through a motion.
Yes, I want to make sure.
So
I want to get it from her.
if you're deferring items now, members of the public will think that you deferred items, and so really we need to,
So we're not going to defer it, right, until we have a full dais? Or do you want to defer?
To set the, for our motion, yes. I'm going to wait till we have a full dais.
Okay.
And Chair King, I also have a pocket item I'd like to request, if it's the will of the commission, essentially to discuss early voting for the February 27, 2023 special election. If we can identify that as PI1.
PI1. Okay, we have it. Mr. Manager, we'd like to set the agenda for the day. We're going to go ahead with all of the withdrawals, indefinitely defers, with the exception of, which item, Commissioner Manolo? SR1 and SR7, we will decide when we have a full body, and Commissioner Diaz de la Portilla?
Okay, and there is, and PZ 15, 16, 17, and 16, 17, 18, and 19 will be deferred.
We'll decide that when we have a full body.
Why don't we just, hold on, Todd. Why don't we just decide everything when it comes up?
That's what we mean. We'll
Okay,
decide
yeah,
that when,
then tell me which deferrals we're agreeing to now.
go ahead, Mr. Manager.
Okay. I can read it, yeah. PH 5 to be with,
Hold on, give me 1 second.
Oh, he's back.
PH 5, okay.
Hold on,
He's
maybe
back.
not
He's
necessary,
back.
because
I have a question. Commissioner, you are talking about just deferring all the PCs?
Deferring those PZs that are the Coconut Grove centric ones, the District 2 ones, I think it was 16, 17, 18, and 19.
15.
Is that correct?
15,
15.
let's,
I'm sorry,
16,
15.
and 17.
15 to 17, I'm
let's
sorry.
let's run through one more time, and we'll go through all of them, and,
Okay.
because we have a full
Right.
dais.
Okay, that's good. Better.
All right.
Do we know how much time
Public comment?
we're going to have for public comments?
No.
How much time?
Yeah, how much time we need?
I don't know how many people want to speak, 2 minutes each.
Mr.
That's
Clerk,
why I'm trying to move
do
through
you
this.
have,
I have about roughly 40.
okay,
That's if they all speak.
80 minutes.
so what I would suggest, we have to get through with that. Now, Madam City Attorney, before we vote on anything, we should hear public comments, correct?
Normally, excuse me, normally we set the order of the day
Yeah.
to know what the public is going to talk about, because some of them may not, if we're deferring items, they don't speak today. So that's why we normally do it that way.
But do we have to do it that way?
Yes, because then
Why?
the public doesn't, if you're not, they don't know what you're going to listen to.
If I may, the purpose of why we set the order of the day before public comment is so that if items get withdrawn, they're no longer available for public comment, or if they get deferred, they go to another meeting.
So the non-controversial, if I may, Madam Chairwoman, the non-controversial ones that the city manager wants to defer, that's fine. I'm okay with that. The other ones that is some subject of debate, that are subject of debate, we can just leave it open, right? And let public comment be made and take it from there. Unless there's consensus that we don't want to do the PZ items, the 3 or the 4, if the commission has that consensus. Maybe we get rid of those and we don't have that issue anymore. The PZ 15, 16, and 17, correct? 15, 16, and 17, that's it, those 3?
Yes, those
I would
are
like to
the,
hear
If you're amenable to that, Commissioner Reyes, then we can go ahead and just defer those 2.
I would like to hear them, because
Okay.
there is Casa Valentina, and there are some social services institutions that will be affected, and that is my problem. That's my biggest problem with those. It's not but they are civil, institutions that social service institutions like Casa Valentina and other ones.
So what's wrong with hearing, just leaving them there for now? Hearing
let's
order,
just leave
the
them.
public
Right.
comment, and then we want to defer them, we defer them later.
Oh, okay, if we decide to defer, we defer them.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
Let's just leave
Okay,
them.
that's fine.
That's fair.
So do I have a motion to set the order of the day?
So moved.
Chair, I think we should probably go down the list, because I want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Then go down the list.
Go down the list. Mr. Manager,
Lo van a volver loco.
Yeah, let's go down the list.
Thank you, please. Thank you for humoring me. So for PH5, I have withdrawn for PH5. PH5 is going to be withdrawn. PH6 is going to be deferred to January 26th. RE3 is going to be withdrawn. RE5 is going to be deferred to March 23rd. RE7 is going to be deferred to February 9th. SR2 is going to be deferred to January 26th. FR4 is going to be withdrawn. FR6 will be deferred to March 23rd. DI1 will be deferred to March 23rd. DI2 will be withdrawn, and I have PZ 18 and 19 as being indefinitely deferred. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Good to go. Thank you.
So moved.
Commissioner Reyes, your microphone.
I asked for a couple of them, the billboards, you see, which is SR1 and FR7, because of, I have not received any analysis. And that is my main question on it. And maybe in the meantime, we can use, reach an agreement on how can we modify them and which ones could affect the residents and which one will not. You see, that's what I want to know.
But part of my motion does not include deferring either one of those items. We're going to take them up when they come up, and if we decide as a body to defer them, that's a different conversation.
Fair enough. I'm just stating my position.
Okay.
And if you wanna discuss them, but let's discuss them.
Sure. We'll discuss it. Yeah, everything.
But you know what my position is. I want to make it clear.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, my motion does not include any of those two items. It only includes the items that Clerk Hannon listed. So that's my motion, Madam Chairwoman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a second?
A second.
Commissioner Carollo seconded.
Great.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. At this time, if I can ask my colleagues for some indulgence, I'd like to take RE12 out of order. It is the co-designation of a street for Larry Little.
Oh, yes.
And he is here, so I would like to do that
my
right
God.
now. And
I see him.
and he's here with Nat Moore,
Nat Moore was
both
my
of
favorite.
the 72 Dolphins. So it's been moved. Do I have a second?
I second it, but before we do that, Madam Chairwoman, I would
Chair?
like to ask both Mr. Little and Mr. Moore, are you available on Sunday, please?
So at this time,
We need you.
at this time, I need to open public comment only for the co-designation of Larry Little Street. If anyone here would like to speak on the co-designation of Larry C. Little Street, please step up to the lectern.
My name's Javier Gonzalez, 3622 Solana Road, and I will speak to the amazing team that was in 1972 when I was a little kid running around, and I probably still remember all of their names. And as Commissioner De La Padilla said, I wish he could play on Thursday, on Sunday as a tackle. So for sure, this is something that is a great honor, especially for somebody from the city of Miami. Thank you.
But it's cold in Buffalo, I hear. I don't know.
Ma'am?
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Sharon Rogers. I'm the president of Miami Chapter Black Nurses Association. And I'm here this morning on behalf of Dr. Linda Washington Brown. This is her brother. She's having surgery this morning, so I came here just to represent her and her brother. I'm here on behalf of the Miami Chapter Black Nurses and Chi Eta sorority, Chi Eta Phi sorority, for this co-designation for this street to be renamed in honor of Larry Little.
Yeah.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Guy Fortune, Virginia Key Beach Park Trust. I just have to say a few words. I think this is a great designation. Larry Little was the namesake of the Virginia Key Larry Little Golf Tournament for 4 years, and just a pleasure to work with, and is an absolute legend in football. And so, thank you. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Professor Sam Lattimore. I am an advocate for the citizens in District 5 and the city of Miami. I'm here to acknowledge and approve and be overjoyed that Larry Little is being recognized. I go back to the time when he used to live on 58th Street. We used to go by his house, and Basil and all those guys. So this is a wonderful tribute. I thought you already had your street, Larry. So we're long overdue. So congratulations, and I really look forward to seeing that.
My name is Nat Moore. A former teammate of Larry Little, and I want to commend the commission for doing this. Whether you know it or not, you have a treasure in Mr. Little. You know, when you think of South Florida, Larry Little was not only on that perfect season team, he was a captain, he was a leader. He was a South Floridian that proved professional sports in South Florida would work. Proved that you can have an economical impact throughout South Florida with professional sports. There was no Miami Heat. There were no Marlins. There were no Panthers. It was the Miami Dolphins that showed not only professional sports could work in South Florida, but throughout the state of Florida. And now the state of Florida, as well as South Florida, has one of the most thriving professional sports industries there is. And he's a prodigal son. So thank you for naming this street after Mr. Little. Thank you.
Do we have, Madam Chairwoman, do we have a Nat Moore Street yet, or is that
That's
the
what
next
I
one
was
we
going
need
to
to
ask.
do?
All right.
We got to make sure he gets one.
I don't
Today's
really,
his day. Today's
I don't
Larry's
really,
day.
I don't really need a street. I just need for us to continue to make South Florida one of the
That's
best
awesome.
places in the world to live. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, I got it. Nat, please don't leave. Because you and I, we go way back. You didn't know me there because you were playing for UF, you were Gator. When we used to chant, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Give the
ball to Nat Moore.
Yes.
And I want to thank you also because I have witnessed everything you have done for the children of Miami, particularly those that need it the most. I know that you and your good friend, Charlie DeLuca, you did a lot of good deeds. And thank you very much. And I have watched your career, and I was proud of you when I was at the University of Florida, and I remain proud of you, and you deserve the street. Well, you deserve the recognition that you have earned. Well, too. And to me, it is a privilege to be sitting here and voting in favor of naming a street after one of my favorite Dolphins. I know that nobody can pull like him. He was the best of the best. Well, so were you. So thank you for coming.
Larry Little was my roommate when I first came to the Miami Dolphins. And everything I know about how to go about my business, I learned from him. So yes. I'm just a protege of what he taught me. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And at this time, seeing no one else here for public comment,
Larry Little.
no, I'm going to have him come up here. He doesn't have to make a public comment. Can I have the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Mr. Little, can you come around and come up? Come this way. Come this way.
Come this way better.
I want to tell you a little bit about how this came to be. His sister all of Booker T. Washington's Alumni Association, the sorority, the nurses came to see me December at Constituent Tuesday. They had to be about 40 deep, and they were ready for a fight. And they didn't realize that I would know who Larry Little was. And I said, yes, he was in the 72 Dolphins, the perfect season. And they were like, oh, okay. And I said, absolutely, I will get this done. And then his sister said, you have to do it in January. And I was like, what? Okay. And I loved her spirit. She fought hard for her brother. She believed that he deserved this designation. And it is an honor for me to sponsor the street naming of Larry Little in my district. I'm so honored. It's a privilege, and I'm honored to meet you. Thank you. Your sister's amazing. Boy, she...
Thank you very much.
Madam Chairwoman, can we bring Mr. Knapp?
Mr. Knapp Moore, can you join us for a photo?
Run, run, run.
And Chair, for the record, RE 12 will be as modified.
And at this time, we are going to have our public comment period. We'll have 4 persons line up on each lectern at a time and rotate. So at this time, please come forward. Public comment period has now begun. Pardon? Yes, because we haven't taken it off. Yes. Go ahead. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Commissioners?
I'm well, thank you.
I'm here to speak on SR1 and FR7. Just want to make it clear that the ordinance that both commissions want to pass, bottom line is money. It's not the people. It is, as Commissioner Reyes just stated, there has been no study proving that this will not affect the quality of life. Bottom line is money. Here in the last years, because of the real estate, that the city has ready to receive an additional $88 million. Why do we need to now hurt the community by having this kind of ordinance that it was going to be a pollution? Do we want Miami to be the Las Vegas Strip or the New York Times Square? Absolutely not. When I think of Miami of the Sunshine State, where you have beautiful oceans, when you have wonderful weather, where people come down to enjoy here the community, a historic place, the Magic City. And now we want to turn this onto a Las Vegas Strip or a New York Times Square, hurting the community where property value will be lower, quality of life will be less. Absolutely not. Commissioners, this is also your city. Please reevaluate this. Money cannot just be the bottom line. As the Bible said, money is the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. Let's think of the people. Let's think about the people that's going to affect them, the quality of life. let's go ahead and deny this. Do not pass it. Just put it down. And let's remember what our city stands for. Beauty, sunshine, quality of life. Not a place where it's just filled with lights and gigantic billboards that could be 1,800 square feet, that could be 10 stories high, illuminating 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Let's vote this down. Do not approve this. Think of your children, your grandchildren, the quality of life. This is going to affect the city of Miami for the rest of our lives. Do not pass this, please. I beg you to think it over, deny this, do not pass this.
Chair, if I could just have the speaker's name. Sir, Mr. Martinez, if I can just have you state your name on the record, please.
Pedro Martinez, 50 Biscayne Boulevard, Miami, Florida, 33132.
Thank you, sir.
May I remind the chambers that we are not clapping. We don't clap. We clap for awesome stuff like Larry Little, but if you'd like to express your feelings for or against anything, do this. Good morning, Elvis. How are you?
Good morning, Commissioner. Thank you. Elvis Cruz, 631 Northeast 57th Street. I'll be very brief today. There are several items on the PZ agenda with changes to Miami 21. I'm asking you to all, please protect our T3 neighborhoods and do not allow any parking reductions within 1,000 feet of T3 neighborhoods. Also, Commissioner, you're far too young to remember the 72 Dolphins. Lastly, please take the rest of my time and put it towards my next appearance. Thank you.
Good morning.
Nathan Curlin, 3132 Day Avenue, Coconut Grove. Board member, Scenic Miami. Board member, Scenic Florida. Story for the day is, what do you call someone with no nose and no body? Nobody knows. But the one thing we do know, Commissioner, over the past several years, the City Commission has opened the barn door for an industry that has little regard for our natural beauty and quality of life. Advertising on barges, advertising on planes, advertising on billboards, everywhere you look. And now this City Commission wishes to despoil our signature parks and put LED billboards on all City of Miami property. To quote Michael Lewis of Miami Today, how in heaven's name could commissioners look at Bayfront Park, Foray Park, and Virginia Key and think they are the least bit suitable for lighted billboards with changing messages? Have they any sensitivity at all for what a park is supposed to be? Apparently not, end quote. Billboard revenue to improve our signature parks. What a brilliant idea. Let's install 24-hour lighted billboards with a new ad every 8 seconds. What an improvement. Visual pollution is a tourist attraction. And make no mistake, LED billboards are the worst form of visual pollution. Reject this and vote no on SR1 and SR7. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Leroy Jones, of Circular Brotherhood, 5120 Northwest 21st Avenue. First, I want to say that Ms. Noriega, what you said was not true. I was standing there when you told Mr. Range that what he requested, that you would grant that. So you sat there and what you said was a lie. So I want to say that. It was untrue what you said. Secondly, I want to say item BC 27, that it be removed indefinitely to restore the trust that was removed. I'm disappointed, our community is disappointed that members of this board sat up here and accused the trust of having their hands in the cookie jar, of stealing. What more upsetting, that nobody up there said that that was not true. Now, in publicly, Commissioner, you said it wasn't true. You said it was wrong. Say it to the community. Don't say it behind the community back to my face. Say it so the community can hear that you said that what Diaz de la Patil accused the trust of stealing money, malfeasance, and had their hand in the cookie jar, and the order said none of that was true. None of that was true. He said he read that audit front and back, up and down, and the trust was stealing money. And the people who did the audit said it wasn't true. So the trust was removed for a lie. So the decent thing to do is to restore the trust, and then let's work from there. Nothing can be in order. Nothing can go forward until that's done. That's the right thing to do. We ain't putting nobody down. It ain't about that. It's about doing the right thing. It's never wrong to do the right thing. The right thing is to restore the people that was lied on. That's the right thing to do. That's the right thing to do.
Thank you. Please, no clapping, no clapping. I would like to address Mr. Jones. I'd like to, communications. If communications, he said that I didn't address those allegations here at the commission meeting, and I did. So if communications couldn't pull up that commission meeting to show that I did say when the final audit was released up here in this seat, let me be clear that there was no malfeasance or misfeasance found in this audit. I said that here from the dais. I've said it in the media, and I've said it at every meeting that I've gone to. I did say it.
Now do the right thing. Restore them. Restore the trust because it was a lie. Restore them.
That is not why, first of all, let me be clear again, because this language, this narrative of restore the trust didn't go anywhere. What you're asking is to reappoint the members that were on the trust. The members that were on the trust, all but one member's term had expired. Other people want to serve, and the reason why my colleagues took this position was because they would like to move forward, as do I, with progress to see the museum built. We will not be withdrawing BC 2027. I believe it's your turn now, ma'am. Good morning. How are you, Ms. Williams?
I'm Terry Williams, president and owner of One United Bank, 3275 Northwest 79th Street. Most of my employees actually live in the city of Miami, which is why I'm here. I also request the withdrawal of BC 27, and when we say restore the trust, what we mean is to restore the structure of the trust prior to the commissioners becoming the trustees of the trust. And I'd like to actually submit a document because one of the things that has happened, in addition to what Brother Leroy Jones has said in terms of disparaging the trust with the comment that there's financial malfeasance, is that there continues to be inaccurate information about the progress and the performance of the trust. In the Miami Herald, the Mayor Suarez is quoted as saying that the city contributed $20 million over 8 years to the trust. That information is actually inaccurate. I'm going to submit a document that shows what the city actually contributed. It contributed $1.6 million over 12 years. So not $20 million over 8 years, but $1.6 million over 12 years, or about $133,000 a year. And the reason that it actually contributed that little is because the trust, as well as the staff, has done a really good job of financial stewardship of Virginia Key Beach Park, and that they've brought in revenue to offset costs. So I just think that, you know, to disparage the community that we haven't done a good job, that we haven't been financial stewards, is just inaccurate. And it's not a good picture, not just for Virginia Key Beach, but I would say for the Black community across Miami-Dade County. So I say withdraw BC 27 because it was done under false pretenses. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Theophilus Williams, 1391 Northwest 95th Street. First of all, we need to stop coming here on this item. And y'all need to take politics out of the game and work with the people. That's number one problem we got. Number two, what needs to happen? We keep coming here and keep on the agenda. You say the county got the money. So it's a little like it's a fight between both city and county. Virginia Key Beach is still standing, number one. Number two, we need an audit of where the money at and a federal investigation. We can get to the bottom of where it's gone and why it's not built. It's just a problem that when we come here, we have to fight for what we want to get. But when others come from other countries, it's no fight. You give them what they want. It's a business in this county and city. Developments are taking over. But we can't build ours, what we want as Black inner city community. And I listened to September 13, the commissioner meeting. Some of y'all need to look at it because these men were trying to overrun her. They said if she don't do what they did, they was gonna overpower her. Look at the meeting. Y'all want it. Y'all want it, but you don't want to work with us. You don't want to work, it don't matter what district you're in. You need to work together, not as individual. This way the problem come in, and you wonder why all the violence is going on in the street? Because y'all don't care. We building towers, people losing houses. Emergency houses is not in the Black community. Everything is closed down. We pay y'all salary. Y'all work for us, whether it's the county or the school board. And if you can't do what y'all have to do for us, is the one thing my mama can say, sign a petition to get you out.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Lyle Muhammad, Executive Director, Circle of Brotherhood, 5120 Northwest 24th Avenue, Miami, Florida, 33142. First, and I would like to find it, maybe somebody can help me lie. If there's a statute that speaks to knowingly lying during a commission meeting while you're on the rostrum, and that makes me ask a question. First to Commissioner Reyes. You held a fact sheet up on Virginia Key Beach, and you said it was full of lies, but you said nothing to us about what those lies are. Then yet you went to speak out your mouth and said nobody ever had a conversation about a hotel. You don't remember being in the subcommittee meeting with Keon Hardeman and having a full-out discussion about building a hotel on Virginia Key Beach? I think that should be addressed.
That's a total lie. That's a total lie.
Commissioner Reyes.
I never met with Keon on that. I don't agree with it.
Commissioner Reyes, don't engage
No, because it's lying.
I know, but allow them the public comment. Allow them the public comment to. I know, but you're not going to change his mind. You just allow the public comment.
Bring Keon here and see.
Okay.
It's already on you all's
Go ahead.
video documentary library. You and him sitting right next to right here talking about it. Could I have that time back?
I was interrupted. He stopped the time. So go ahead, because your time is going now.
Thank you. Trying to mute public consent? Might want to think about that one. And Christine King, I must say, restore the trust. There's a growing trust in your leadership or a growing distrust in your leadership. From what I see, your track record hasn't been so good. You promised at the last commission meeting that we were here that you were going to have a community meeting on this issue. I don't remember hearing anything about it. You promised that you would take a stand and that meeting would not be postponed. You said nothing about it. So there's a lot of innuendos that are being supposed, and this is not a threat. Do not underestimate our ability to disavow leadership that is ineffective.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Lloyd McClinton. Address is 6500 Northwest 11th Avenue, Miami, Florida, 33150. I'm here this morning to ask that because of the way it happened, that at least restore the members and try to figure a way for us to work together. As a citizen, I'm sitting here watching that a landmark to me growing up in here is being overturned and overmantled by politics. let's put it aside. Take our time and figure a way to work together. No one, including you, would like to have accusations hurled at them, then remove or whatever. It's a different way. I think you should restore. I understand that you're saying the key word restore, but put the original members back, then we figure a way to work together to achieve the common goal. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is George Passanelli. I live at 900 Biscayne Boulevard in Miami, Florida. I'm here on, I believe it's SR1 and FR7, the digital signage. I guess I will echo the comments of the Reverend and the gentleman before me. I think you all do represent the community, and if you do, and there was a poll taken, at least in my building and the surrounding buildings, we all believe that those signs will be pollution. You know, they're green spaces. We have very few green spaces in the park. Additionally, we don't have representation up here from our district on voting on something I think just would be almost a hypocrisy. I at least agree with Commissioner Reyes and maybe deferring it for multiple studies. Who knows the impact of signage on Biscayne Boulevard when we already have traffic problems with the events that are down there, let alone signage? There are already enough signs there as well. And, you know, we talk about having green space, and now we want to put lights everywhere. And if you look at, I think the gentleman before me mentioned, there is Times Square, but there's also Central Park. You don't see digital signage in Central Park. You don't see it in Millennial Park. And again, what few green spaces we have here, I think we should protect them. We just recently, with the help of Commissioner Carollo, I mean, our park, Maurice Ferre Park on Biscayne Boulevard, is in the best shape it's ever been. Now we want to block it or light it up and disrupt it, I think would be ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, Patrick Range, offices at 5727 Northwest 17th Avenue. I am back. And what I was going to say during my, whatever you call it, was that there, I think, is a pathway to get the museum built. What hasn't been said is that, and I think you all are starting to realize it now, the issues are between the county and the city. And the discussions have to be had at that level. We've had the opportunity to meet with the county mayor, to meet with the commissioner of the district in which the park sits in the county, Commissioner Regalado. Had a chance to also in that meeting meet with Michael Spring. Again, they are the gateholders for the GOB dollars. You will have to, in your deliberations, present to them whatever will be approved as far as the museum. And I want to say there have been discussions about a community meeting to get input for what would happen at the museum. These meetings have taken place already. There is a catalog of input for what people would like to see at this park. And again, this is a passive park. This is not Bayfront Park. This is not an event space. The only reason that events were ever held at Virginia Key was because the city failed to give us $1. And that was what the document that Terry Williams submitted. So as a result, we became a revenue-generating space because we had to, not because we wanted to. This should be a passive park. I agree with the gentleman that came before. We don't want to see electronic billboards in this park. This is a passive park. Put them up elsewhere and send the revenue to Virginia Key. But don't put electronic billboards in Virginia Key Beach Park. Leave it natural so that people can enjoy it and have a nice green space to enjoy. I appreciate your time. I'm going to continue working because that's what I do. So you can cut me off here, but I'll be working. You'll continue to see my face, and we're going to continue to do what we have to do to get this museum built. I'm here to help. You don't want my help, you're going to have it anyway. I ain't going anywhere.
I yield my time to Patrick Range.
You cannot yield your time. We're not doing that today, so.
And I do want to say I oppose also that measure, the FR8. It's a travesty that you would cut off people's time. You work for me. I don't work for you.
Thank you, Mr. Range. Thank you.
My name is Stanley Young, Circle of Brotherhood. New to Miami, been here for since 2016. Love it, love the weather. Just getting familiar with politics here in Miami. It's real strange, but we're going to go with it. I'm going to speak on PC 27, stick to the agenda. I'm going to
say appoint, reappoint. If the previous board appointment or season of their commission has ended, well, let's look at reappointing these particular individuals because I have met them. I found them to be people of character, good character. That goes a lot with me. They know the history of Miami. They know and have access and resources to do the work that's needed to be done to get this museum built and whatever else that needs to be done at the Virginia Key Beach. Some of our board members, or chairmen, they might not know the history of Miami. I'm learning the history of Miami, and it's a very rich history that needs to be told. And the people we need to have there is the ones that grew up during that time and that city. We still have them here now, alive with us, that can tell us when they had to go to all-black beach and how they felt that they had to go to all-black beach. Those are the ones that holds the history for this museum.
Thank you.
That needs to be built. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
4952 Northwest 7th Avenue, Ario Lundy. Okay, the beach was here a while ago, as we know. Commissioner just got here. At the end of the day, our colleagues was always there. And as y'all know, the colleagues them have their agenda. If we sit here and fight against her, you're giving the colleagues the opportunity to bring the tractors and trailers in. So why shouldn't we stick together and support the district commissioner for our black beach? It's still our black beach as long as she's there. Now we need to sit down and come to an agreement with her so that we don't have our colleagues take our black beach. Because the more we strengthen her, that will be our black beach. But the less we strengthen her, then we get our black beach taken. She's a lawyer, so she ain't gonna let nobody do no stupidness over her. So our best bet is to sit together and let's work this together. Us, Patrick, Leroy, all of us get with our commissioner. And we hold her accountable for our black beach. We know how to do it. We know how to go sit down with her. But when we're fighting against her, we're sitting here as black folk fighting among each other to accomplish our goal. Because they're sitting there looking at us like fools. So let's get together and make this work to benefit our black beach. No problem, Leroy. No disrespect. So let's get together and make this work. That's all we're saying. That's as a team. Us. Because it's our black beach. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners, Madam Chair, City Attorney, City staff. I'm going to be real quick. We just want to, my name is Javier Gonzalez, 3622 Solana Road. Full disclosure, I am a candidate for the District 2 open seat. And I do want to point out one thing. As a longtime Grove resident, somebody who's been here since 1965, I am in full agreement with and in favor of PZ 15, PZ 16, PZ 17, and more importantly, PH 12 and PH 13. The community needs it. It's been distressed for long enough. I think it's time that we start to activate it. As to SR1 and FR7, I do truly believe that this is a city issue. It's an issue that should be deferred or continued until there is a District 2 commissioner, be it myself or be it any of the other candidates that have signed up. It is not right to be able to do this type of legislation and this type of decision without full representation of this body. It is an injustice to the residents, and I truly feel that it should be either deferred or continued. Thank you for your time. I'm going to go out and enjoy the weather.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Kerry Johnson. I live at 29 Northwest 52nd Street. I'm here to talk about the Virginia Key Beach Museum, Black Museum. I hear a lot about the past people that was there range for the last 17 years or how many ever years, and the money has been allocated to build a museum there. I've spoken to Christine King about it. I've talked to Keon Hardeman about it, and so far I haven't got a real good answer yet on why there's no progress that's going forward in building that beach there. Building that museum there. I think everybody here and a lot of people in the Black neighborhood would like to see a beach there because it has a lot of history on Virginia Key Beach. And as everybody knows, 1975 was when they said that it should be a black beach because they didn't want people on Miami Beach, so they set it up. Well, all of a sudden, after all these years, and it's been there, it should be some dedication done to the black community for that, and a museum should be put there to show dedication to the black area. And, it's black people has built this country, whether people want to say it or not. But if you look around, everything that's been built in this country, the buildings, the streets, all the labor has been done by black people. And it's a lot of black history down here in Miami, as well as all over the country. But when it comes down to trying to put a museum there or put something there for people to see, it's hard for them, for black people to get something. When other people come over here from other countries and everywhere else, they get all kinds of museums and soccer fields and everything else that they want. But when it comes to the black people, you got to fight for something. I just don't understand. Why not just be fair to everybody? Every color, every nation, every person. And that's all that I'm here to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes, my name is Dennis Phillips. I was born in Miami, Florida. And, if I wronged someone and found out that I honestly wronged someone and took away something from them, I would restore them. God restored people that was wrongfully persecuted and restored them more. Miss Range left a legacy, Virginia Key Trust, to be passed on. And, the members of the Virginia Key Trust had the support of the black community. And the black community feel that they've been disrespected. You disrespected the trust, so you disrespect the people that support the trust. So you're disrespecting the whole black community. I'm a man of few words. I take respect very something that is very cherishable. So please, I ask you, restore the trust in the black community. That is a way of restoring the trust. You all are all not trusted anymore.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Lola Capers, and I'm here to support the change to BC 27. I know we can't be talking about the same beach. I wish I could connect my phone to the cameras. That beach is horrible. It stinks. Seaweed is 4 feet out in the water. The benches are horrible. We have enough. I have heard everyone criticize the chairwoman. But I haven't heard not one person say, we're going to raise money and we're going to put benches out there that's rotten. We're going to raise money and we're going to put new barbecue grills out there. You're supposed to be able to go on the beach and walk with your shoes off. You go on the beach, you got to walk with your flip-flops or your tennis shoes. You're doing the right thing. No, and I don't care who get mad with me. No, you don't need to reinstate no one from the previous foundation. Let's move on, let's make a change, and let's have progress. Museum. Why do we need a museum? We have the Black Police Museum, no line, no waiting. We got the Chapman House Museum, no line, no waiting. Ain't I going? It's no line, no waiting. Move on, board. Continue with the progress, and let's make the change. You're doing a good job, Chairwoman.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairwoman, Commissioners. My name is James Torres, and I'm the president of the Downtown Neighbors Alliance. I'd like to make a couple comments as it relates to SR1 and FR7, the signs. The Board of Directors of the Downtown Neighbors Alliance believes that green spaces are an amenity for the public, not a revenue-generating enterprise, and should remain free of intrusive advertising. With that comment, we kindly ask that you defer the item based on the simple fact that we do not have representation in District 2, which would be a viable solution and input that should be given. Regarding FR7, we ask Commissioner Joe Carollo to amend the ordinance to include some of the following limits related to the billboards in Bayfront Park and MAF. Maximum height should not exceed more than 30 feet from the grade level. Location, the base of each billboard should be located within 15 feet or less from the park boundaries. Because right now, the confusion is that there's a lot of individuals believing that this is going to go inside the parks. So we're asking for you, sir, to give us some clarity on that, because I think it's important, because there's a lot of misinformation going on there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Luis Revuelta. I'm an architect, 2950 Southwest 27th Avenue. We had the privilege of being invited more than a decade ago by the city as 5 firms to analyze projects that we were doing under Miami 21. And I am very grateful that staff finally has put forward tweaks that we were promised would happen more than 10 years ago. I'm grateful that Commissioner Reyes and Mayor Suarez are co-sponsoring this item. Strongly support everything that's happening. The 3 feet encroachment is something that came from 11,000 that should have been fixed from day one. Somehow it slipped over under the radar. What this amendment does now is actually tweaks, they said to us, things that really needed to be fixed in Miami 21. The allowable measurement of building height now with the mezzanine on top will make much better architecture. The length of the building is now consistent with the plate and the FLR measurement. And I think everything in this amendment will produce better architecture. I'm sorry that we could not come to an agreement with staff on the balcony 7 feet versus something. I think it should be something between 8 and 10 feet, but I'll leave that to the commissioner and to the staff. I'm grateful to the staff for all the work that they did and for the commission and the mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Stephen Leitner, 1130 102nd Street, 33154. Thank you to the commissioners who stay seated during public comment. We appreciate your attention. I would like to say that this commission has created a sham out of the Virginia Key Beach Park Trust. It's a insult to the heritage of the Black community. Get off of the Black community's neck.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Albert Campbell, member of the Circle Brotherhood, 5120 Northwest 24th Avenue. I've served 22.3 years in federal prison for things that I've done, and I accept that. But if I was accused of something that I didn't do, and had to pay a penalty for it, I would have a problem with that. And I'm sure the members of the Circle Brotherhood, Chairman, if we thought that you was right, we would get behind you because we love you. But if the trust, if they did not do anything wrong, why can't they get a chance to do what needs to be done with assistance? And so we back them. And it will come a day, Ms. King, that we'll back you too if we believe that you are right. So we don't have an issue with you because we love this community just as much as you love it. But we ask that you revisit this issue and give our community a chance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning,
Good morning still.
Madam Chair, Commissioners. Steve Warnick, address 320 Miracle Mile, Coral Gables. Here on PZ8, speaking in support, like Mr. Vuelta, very much appreciate the Commissioner's co-sponsorship and the Mayor as well. This is one of these long time coming evolution of the code, allow for more outdoor space and indoor space balance. The one thing I just wanted to put into the record, just in accordance with the past practice on some of these ordinances, if there may be project in the pipeline, it's been going on for several months. We have a couple of projects that just want to recognize that they may need to continue through the code as it exists today, just because they've relied on that, and those projects are moving forward and been in the system for a while. So I'll just put this into the record. But I support the item, and we're glad it's moving forward.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Lamont Nanton, Circle of Brotherhood, 5120 Northwest 24th Avenue. I just want to kind of put something in perspective concerning the item with Virginia Key Beach. Many of us know, whether you live in the Black community or not, for the last few decades, a lot has been taken from the Black community through means of gentrification, systemic racism, etc. We are really trying to hold on to everything as much as we can in our community that represents our history. Just to flip the script real quick, let's just imagine this was happening in Hialeah. And let's just imagine there was a historical location that has been there for years and the board was full of Hispanics. And all of a sudden, they were lied on and we replaced them with all Blacks and maybe one Hispanic to be over that. Would we still be having this issue in debate? I just want to put that in your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me say good morning, Madam Chairperson, Commissioners, members. I just want to thank you all for all that you do on behalf of our community. I thought I was going to have to say a lot about our items that are on the DS for the day program for the day, PH 12 and 13. And I just want to know that I support both of those items. I don't know if Commissioner DePortillo and Arroyo could hear me, but I do want them to know that the Health Initiative was founded by Ms. Verlene Barton and Ms. Jerry Smart over 20 years ago. And we work in our community and do a lot of great things for the community of Coconut Grove. And I know you know how long Christ Episcopal Church has been around, for 21 years. And so the work that we do there is for this community. And I just want the commission to know that I support both those items. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I'm sort of missed for words at this point. 1292 Northwest 79th Street, apartment 108. I'm former state representative Roy Hardeman, and I got all kinds of mixed emotion about what's going on in Virginia Key when it comes to how you as a junior politician fighting the beast, and you're holding your own. I believe you're doing well. The Virginia Key shouldn't have never been transferred to the rest of the commission to have say so. It should have stayed in the community hand. but it had happened. I want to say to you is that keep your head up, keep fighting. As we begin to look at what's going on in the inner city, model city, Liberty City, where we got over 2,000 empty public housing sites in our district where nobody's talking about, nobody is addressing. Only people addressing it is the poverty pimps that's getting these paychecks, and our community is going down. Right there on 62nd and 62nd and 14, we built a spade and neuter and cats and dogs over human lives in our community. We're for to build 8-story buildings all up down Martin Luther King. It has nothing to do with the African-American community. And it disturbed me because I'm with the fight to keep the board, but I'm also in the fight to make sure that we keep our community. I would think we should take a step back to begin to make sure that the Liberty City Trust either do its job or disband it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Before my speech, I would like to give you some paper.
Give it to the clerk. Give it to the clerk. Go ahead.
No, I had the presentation.
Oh. Okay. Can you plug? Wait for your presentation. I'll continue. Good morning.
Good morning again, Commissioner and audience. My name is Samuel Lattimore, professor. I live at 937 Northwest 55 Street. Been living there. The house was built in 1959. In fact, I was living there when I almost drowned at Virginia Key. I thought I could swim and forgot the way that the current was going out. And a friend of mine by the name of Frog saved my life. So Virginia Key is very close to me, but that's not the issue. I've been looking at this issue as a former law enforcement, corrections, superintendent, social worker, teacher, professor, and all the other things, and living in this community and having gone through with police riots. I was leaving before, but I gotta say it. I am so concerned and disturbed about how the black community, particularly male black, have treated this commissioner. I've been before a number of audiences, and I've never seen the kind of attacks that they have laid upon this decision. I just left the Caleb Center. I wish you were there saying some of the same things. I left 62nd Street and 14th Avenue. I wish you would, we don't hear that. I think that the attack, there's a way to deal with this, but I think the males in this particular issue, and I'm talking primarily about the males, have been completely disrespectful to the way that shit should be. All eyes are pointing on this commissioner as though she has the magic wand to solve this. I've worked with Virginia Key on some issues. I've been out there, and I know that they're trying to do what the best they can try to do. I know that the commissioner is trying to do what the best she's trying to do. But the attacks by the black men who have shouted out different things, I don't understand it. I'm 76 years old, and I've never heard the kind of attacks of a black woman that I've seen during this issue. Maybe it's not all about blackness. Maybe it's about the way that we get through this together. Other groups do it. Why do we have to make a spectacle of ourselves? So I'm willing to work and continue to say to the beach, you're doing a good job. There are some other issues I'm looking at too as a private citizen, but I just am embarrassed as a black man who was a military person, who's been through riots and disturbances in both correction and the street, to see a woman treated like this. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Ma'am? Go
Yes,
ahead.
good morning. My name is Clara Garcia. I am the architect that is in charge of Grand Avenue development projects. We've already participated in the meeting last month, December 21st, when the City of Miami made the application directed by Mr. Arturo Noriega, who is in charge to this zoning designation change, and he proposed a new boundary for Grand Avenue for the mixed-use cultural district in Coconut Grove. The proposed NCD2 amendment are said to include all Grand Avenue in the mixed-use cultural district. I would like to bring your attention to the west side of Grand Avenue. If we look closely, the proposed change emphasizes the importance of the community through the main commercial corridor. Yet, there are currently two zoning designations for the same street of Grand Avenue, T30 for the West Grand and T5 for the East Grand Avenue, which is already segmented. I propose to expand T50 to the zoning designation of West Grand Avenue as part of the mixed-use cultural district to comply with the vision that the City of Miami has, and we really agree the change that they propose. But if you see the map one, they chose the actual mixed-use cultural corridors. Corridor means streets. And they propose the new boundaries for the district, which is fine. But if you see the red part, it shows the west part of Grand Avenue with the same color, the same designation in this map as the East Grand Avenue.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, good afternoon, actually.
Is it afternoon?
It is afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Gerbino Wells, Senior Attorney at Equity Advocacy from Legal Services of Greater Miami. Office is located at 4343 West Flagler. I'm here on behalf of Grove Rights and Community Equity Incorporated, better known as GRACE. I'm here on regards to PZAB items 15, 16, and 17. Just as an overview, this directive in particular is about incentivizing and bringing affordable housing to the Grove. As Commissioner Russell put it at the October 13th meeting, it's an attempt to repair the damage that's been done to the Grove. And what he did specifically is identified what he called stewards of good service, I believe is the way he put it, who want to bring affordable housing to the community. So in PZAB item 15, 16, and 17, essentially, there are some future land use changes that are designated, or some zoning designations that are being proposed for change, as well as an amendment to the NCD2. GRACE as a whole is in support of affordable housing being brought to the Grove. There is a dire need for that. There has been a substantial loss of affordable housing within the community. However, the issue that GRACE does take with this particular item is that it includes a particular assemblage that does not intend to bring affordable housing to the community. Now, that resolution is broken down into three assemblages, assemblage A, B, and C. You'll hear from Christ Episcopal Church. They're going to be bringing affordable housing. Casa Valentina, another social organization that was mentioned earlier as one of the reasons why we needed to continue with this item. They're going to be providing some type of housing for their clientele. However, the issue here is with assemblage A, which is owned by a private owner. And so what you'll hear from them today is that they're not here to bring affordable housing to the community. Essentially, the amenity and the benefit they're going to be providing to the community is a parking garage as well as office space. So with that being said, we'd ask for Assemblage A to be removed from consideration, and I have here Grace's resolution of the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Yes. So taking a time to continue what it is that we've been talking about with PZ 15 to 18, essentially enhancing the corridor as a tourist destination, promoting a cultural facade, providing a culturally themed bridge to all other parts of the district, as well as promoting development of affordable housing. Art Noriega, City Manager, I'm so happy you're here to listen to us today. We want to make sure these are beautiful goals that our public policymakers have set out to do. We want to make sure that these things are actually done. Nothing will get done if policies are implemented incongruently and inefficiently. We know the efficiency that the city of Miami has, and they are amazing. And we want to make sure that East Grand Avenue does not only see all the benefits of this beautiful proposal of having T50 benefits and the NCD overlay benefits, we need to make sure that as well as West Grand Avenue also sees the continuity of these benefits. It does not endear liberty and justice for all, for only a portion of a community to see those benefits. And that is why we say that you must also consider the T50 rezoning for West Grand Avenue. And thank you so much for your time, commissioners and the city.
Thank you.
Chair, can I get the speaker's name? Sir, if you could state your name for the record.
My name is Daniel Andres Lopez, and it has been my pleasure to speak to you today.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Samantha Quarterman. I represent the MEGA program. I also have some of my students here that is participating in this event today to see how the city is ran. I just want to ask a tough question. And the question I have to ask you, Commissioner and Chairwoman, do you have the power solely alone to restore the trust?
I do not.
Okay. And if you do not have that power solely alone, how can we work with you to do the historical history of our Black community with the new development that's coming along?
I'll explain that after public comment.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman. Good afternoon, Commissioners, city officials. I'm here also following up on Clara's comments and also on Daniel's comments. I represent a group of owners that have about 11 properties along Washington Avenue. And we also support the implementation that zone will change from a T30 to a T50. We think it's only logical that if that transition is going to happen along all Grand Avenue, it would happen to that side of Grand Avenue as well, so that everything could be congruently and would have the same image and would have the same opportunities of development that the rest of the important street has. So basically, that's what we're here to ask, that would be also implemented to all those properties that are currently T30 to be designated T50. Basically, this group of owners are waiting and are ready to support the development of these properties, to work with the community and to have affordable housing that people can also take advantage of in that zone of town. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman. Melissa Tapinas, Yawez, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard, Miami. I represent 3442 Southwest 37th Avenue, LLC, and Jelly Salmon JV CG, LLC. I'm also a resident of 3767 Carmen Court in Coconut Grove, and I'm here to speak in support of items 15, 16, and 17. Specifically, my clients own 12 parcels of land in Little Bahamas at the northwest corner and the southwest corner of Grand and Douglas. This area is known as the Four Corners of Coconut Grove or Little Bahamas, and is specifically pointed out in the West Grove CRA redevelopment goals, Goal 1 and Goal 17. The goal of Assemblage A, which was mentioned earlier in public comment, is to rezone from T30 to T40 some vacant land that is between Grand Avenue and Francis Tucker Elementary School on Douglas Road. The goal is to build a 3-story building with 56 structured parking spaces and retail and office liners. The goal is very specifically in line with the West Grove CRA master plan that was approved by this commission, and it's meant to provide parking for the existing legacy businesses at the northwest corner of Grand and Douglas that my clients also own. This area of Coconut Grove and Grand Avenue does not have any parking with the exception of on-street parking, and the goal is to provide that amenity so that this area can become revitalized, consistent with the NCD2 mixed-use cultural district. So we urge your support at first reading, and we're happy to continue to meet with the commissioners and the community on this endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. How are you?
Hello, Madam Chairperson, Commissioner Reyes, Monty Trainer, 3390 Mary Street. I'm here to speak on the Thelma Gibson Health Initiative. I think we have a golden opportunity here in the Grove. I've been a proponent of West Grove since the day I moved into, and I was reading an article the other day that I was interviewed where 30 years ago I spoke about Coconut Grove, West Grove, coming from US 1 through the Grove, up to the Grove through Grand Avenue. And it's such a grand opportunity now to come through a historic Coconut Grove where this is, it all started right here in the city of Miami. And I think with what we've done with Gibson Plaza, it's beautiful. And what's planned, I was at a meeting where Frederica and Maria Salas came together, so 2 different parties came together to support the West Grove. And I think that we've had the teen cuisine where Joe King and Thelma Gibson, they've been training for years now. About 20 years where they've been training for the workforce in the Coconut Grove and the hotels and the restaurants and the service industry. So it's an opportunity for us, I think, to really to get behind the shoulder and everybody get together and work on West Grove because it's beautiful and it can be beautiful. And we're missing the boat if we don't jump on the board and get behind the Thelma Gibson Health Initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Edward Marshall's office is at 2800 Ponce de Leon Boulevard. I'm here on behalf of Casa Valentina. We ask that you please approve PZs 15 through 17 today and 18 and 19 when they come back to you. Casa Valentina, as you've already heard from several members in the public, is an invaluable resource for the city of Miami and for Coconut Grove. Foster youth when they age out, need affordable housing just like other Miamians, or maybe perhaps more so than any other Miamian. And we hope that you'll pass this legislation to help us continue our program in Coconut Grove. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I hope you'll bear with me. The weather and a condition which I'll briefly speak to within my time about, when we talk about affordable housing and homelessness, we have more of a challenge than not. When I looked at Virginia Key, you know what I'm speaking on, and some of the housing came a long way to speak to you. When we talk about displacing homeless persons on a beach that has no water and sewer, I stopped forgetting that how many people waited out in that water, that funky water, just to have the right to make this a black beach. And I just want to encourage you to continue because I look at a lot of history of disparity. I look at disparity when African American women become heads of their district and how when they want to develop things, I look at the disparity. And I looked on this menu today, I call it a menu, it's an agenda, because everybody eating but us. You see, and when I look at about the 11th Hispanic or Cuban museum, I wonder what's the problem. When I look at you in that chair, I wonder what's the problem. We don't always agree, Madam King or Chairperson King, but you do allow someone to have a voice. I don't like the disparity and the pattern of trend when the black community wants to develop, because if I had to quantitate it I would say we get 1% of 1% of 1% of all that a majority of us qualify this county, this city for. And when we look at development of beaches, I think about Mr. Dorsey and how he sold Fisher Island and the value of what it was then, $300,000 as opposed to now. And so, but what's most unaffordable that I need to hit on is that we talk about these small goals, and I'd like to ask you to do this for me out of logic. Just assume that Black folks do know how to do development, that African-American communities have those type of professionals that do zoning, that do land use, because if we looked at how many was registered and we looked at the number of projects were funded again, it is just too different. I'm wondering why the process is always full of impediments. But when you use homeless persons and citizens, in closing, madam, when you use homeless persons and put them in rehabs, or you put them on funky beaches, and they have mold all over the place, and you hire inspectors, and they don't do anything about it, manager, we need to talk about how we displace some folks in order to build something for other folks that other folks get that we hardly ever get. And I'd like to thank you for just seriously listening to that. Madam Attorney,
Thank you.
I have some papers for you.
Thank
I'll
you.
give you time to get them. You'll be served.
Good
Thank you
afternoon.
very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Brenda Betancourt, 1436 Southwest 6th Street. In reference of the Coconut Grove PC 15 to 17, I'm just concerned about the way that we're going to be doing the rezoning. We have in Grand Avenue some lots, they are half T5 and half of the other lot are T3. So if we're going to be trying to fix one side of Grand Avenue in order to be able to build affordable housing, why not just reviewing the entire Grand Avenue in both sizes and see what is those changes that actually going to work for those owners who has the land and they have not been able to build because you have 2,500 square feet in frontage of T3 mixed with a T5. I understand that Miami 21 has been more changes and more modifying a lot of things in order to fix, but I think that all of you need to understand in order for those progress to move and actually become projects, those land need to be reassessed. If you have a block with mixed with those two different type of zoning, how are you going to be able to build? How can you ask those owners to sacrifice that piece of land in order for you to build in Grand Avenue? Commissioner, concern about the signage. I heard that it's not going to be inside the parks. Just think about it when you're driving. If you normally have a lot of accidents and people don't paying attention, imagine if you have beautiful signage actually distracting you more than usual. What is going to happen? Think about all those parents that have missed children or children that have missed parents in accidents. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on any item that is here? Seeing none, the public comment period is now closed. No, I'd like to, I see, but maybe they'll come back out. Todd, could you see if the commissioners are going to come out or if we should break for lunch? I just want to do one thing. No, go. Oh, you. Commissioner Reyes. Steve. Okay. I'd like to take just 2 items. I need Commissioner Diaz de la Portilla. The first item I would like to take out of order is BC 27. I'd like to appoint.
Go right ahead.
So we're going to break, but I'd like to do 2 things. I'd like to take 2 things out of order. The first one I'd like to do is PH 12. I'd like to know if it's the will of the body to address that right now.
Yes.
What's your man?
I move it.
PH 12,
I move it.
the Thelma Gibson Health Initiative.
Yes,
I believe we all
I move it.
made a commitment.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. And at this time, I'd like to take BC 27 out of order and appoint my 2 members to the trust.
Chair,
Well,
Chairwoman King will be appointing Vincent Brown and Bonita Jones Peabody.
I will move that.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I'd like to introduce to the community my 2 appointments for the Virginia Key Beach Trust, Miss Bonita Jones Peabody, Esquire, who was born and raised in Miami. She attended the beach when she was a child. She knows all about it. And Vincent T. Brown is also an attorney, has lived here in Miami all of his life. They have extensive backgrounds. I believe they will serve with distinction, integrity, and they will be ethical. I look forward to serving with them and moving the agenda of the Virginia Key Beach Trust forward with forward progress. I had heard some comments that Madam Chair said she was going to have a community meeting, and I did. I said, when I appoint my 2, I will have a community meeting, and we will go to the community and ask the community what it is that they would like to see happen. We are going to move forward with getting that money and building that museum. That is our charge. These 2 individuals are going to stand with me to ensure that that is done, and I look forward to progress with these 2 individuals and my colleagues here. So thank you for agreeing to serve, and I look forward to moving the agenda. I will announce shortly when our community meeting will be held. I have to make sure everybody's calendar, the date that is set is for everybody's calendar, and we will be out talking to the community and seeing what the community wants to see happen in that space. And for, I don't know, the millionth time, I am not building a hotel out there, a Marriott, a Hilton. Whatever is done will be historically and environmentally respectful. And I do not believe this is about me or this body. It is about the community, and it is about revitalizing that space, period. Thank you, everyone.
Welcome.
And at this time,
I move that we recess till 3 o'clock.
we will recess until 3 o'clock.